Hi, it's Denise with Divine Soul Astrology. Today I'm here to talk about the Aries new moon. So it's exciting. It sure is because the Aries new moon is it's a new moon where we're planting new seeds, new ideas, things we want to do, things we want to tackle, things we want to conquer, and just a new fresh, right? So the Aries new moon comes to us in spring, at least in the Western hemisphere. So it is exciting. So with the new moon in Aries, it happens on April 17th, 2026. And I'm going to talk about all the 12 signs, the horoscopes for each 12 signs. So stay tuned for that. But first, I want to talk a little bit about really what the new moon means, right? So the new moon is when the moon is conjoining or together with the sun. So they're always making something together. We can think of it that way. So the new moon starts April 17th, and it's at 4:52 p.m. It's at 27 degrees. Now, the 4:52, it's AM actually. That is Pacific Daylight Time. So please check for your own time. All right, so the new moon in Aries, it's ruled by Mars. Mars is the planet of war, but Mars is really the will to act. It is courage, it's drive, it's desire, it's passion, it's fiery. So that's why it's exciting, right? And so the new moon in Aries will encourage us to take risks and also, yeah, and also to maintain courage, right? Right? And so we have the stellium with so many planets in Aries is the backbone for the new beginnings, the new endeavors, the new career. And all these planets are together. There's seven planets right now that are in, well, when we include the sun and the moon, seven planets that are in Aries. Wow. We also have some energy that is still some planetary, we still have some transits going on in Pisces, but the majority is in Aries. We're in Aries season as well, right? So the sun and the sun and Venus and Mercury, they move similar in terms of their transit, like the time or their speed. So when we do have Mercury in Aries with the sun, we also have, um, we have Mercury, we have Mars, but we have Mercury. Venus is not, though. Venus is in Taurus right now. So let's talk more about this though. And when we have these new endeavors, we have a new you, right? We can have a new you. We can kind of liken it to spring cleaning, sort of. We can. And Mercury and Mars, Mercury is a planet of information. It's our thinking, it's our mind, it's our communication, and it's how we process information. So it's anything that is cerebral. And Mercury also represents our ideas and our plans and goals, but Mercury and Mars are together, they're conjoined. So there's a lot of fiery, bold communication. There can be, or direct communication, right? Mars is very direct. Hey, this is how it's going to be, and this is what I'm doing. That's kind of the Mars attitude. So Mars is at 5 degrees and it's in a quincunx with the South Node. The quincunx is a minor aspect in astrology, but it really means that some type of adjustment has to be made. And that is happening with the South Node. And the South Node is the past. It's where we need to leave something behind. When we have Mars, new beginnings and the will to act, quincunxing the South Node, it's telling us leave the past behind, move into something new, right? Learn from the past and move forward. So we have that going on. And the South Node, yeah, it is what we need to move away from. It can sometimes be family wounds, but if we stay in the energy of the South Node, we always want to move to the North Node. That's what everybody is really trying to do. It's really a wholeness. That's what we're trying to get to. And it can be the North Node can be, our fate and destiny, but it is our true potential. And that's where everybody is really trying to go, consciously or unconsciously. And so here we have, and so that's why we want to move away from the South Node. We have Saturn as well, and Saturn is part of the stellium. A stellium is many planets together. Saturn is the planet of, it is restrictions, it is the teacher, but it is rules our authority and ambition. It also rules achievement. It rules leaders, leading, figures, leading leaders and bosses and things like that, higher ups. And so Saturn also rules the same way it rules restriction, it also rules reward in terms of achievement. Saturn wants us to be mature and it wants us to be self-disciplined, right? And be patient and but do the work. And so we have Saturn there as well. So Saturn is there to support our commitment and our seriousness. There could be karmic lessons. There may be, right, when during Aries season, could be, and those karmic lessons are helping us act in the Aryan way, right? Which is let me take action. Let me do that, right? And so Aries, really, in my opinion, comes from it is the same as arise or rise up. And so that's what we are doing, many of us, right? This is what we want here for ourselves to create something new, really, or to act on something that maybe we've been waiting on. It can be, right? And so we have Saturn is representing the authority we take over our own lives. So Saturn will be there to support us and give us that seriousness that we need, the discipline and the commitment. So Chiron is between the sun and Saturn. So Chiron is the wounded healer. Chiron wants us to heal. It wants us also to overcome. So it's really important to overcome whatever we have been kind of given at birth because Chiron is in all of our charts. And so Chiron is, it can be a reflection where we can heal that way, reflecting, meditating, and just kind of understanding ourselves at a very deep level, right? But Chiron is between the sun and Saturn. Um, and so it's interesting, yeah, and so it would be interesting to know where Chiron falls in your own chart, of course. But Chiron is there to, all the planets are there really in Aries as I see it, to help us and support us act on our will, have courage and have drive, right? And so And so, and Chiron, with Chiron there, it can be something psychological, right? It doesn't have to be, we need to overcome a physical ailment. It usually is psychological. It can be physical. Um, but yeah, and so we have Chiron wants us to understand ourselves at a very deep level, and it does have something to do with our self-expression because, or our will to act, or really kind of believing in yourself because it is in Aries, the sign of the self. So we have all these planets supporting um, our higher expression or our higher selves. We do. And so, yeah, and so the sun and the moon are at 27 degrees, and this is supporting our sense of self and our emotional needs. The sun is life and the moon is our emotional needs. And so this can indicate a rebirth at the 27th degree. It can. And that is a beautiful thing, right? We have Mercury is inviting us to reflect on our goals, how we communicate to others, and to be smart about where we're going. That's what Mercury wants for us, right? Mercury is in a tight conjunction with Mars. And so, lastly, we have, but not least, we have, Neptune. So Neptune rules Pisces, and Neptune is the planet of illusions and dreams, intuition and imagination. Neptune wants us to believe in those. But there is with every sign, there's always a kind of a constructive and a destructive quality. So when we get into, when we talk about Neptune's energy, it wants us to believe in our dreams. It does. It wants us to imagine a future for ourselves, right? But sometimes we can get the downside can be sometimes when we get too much into fantasizing, and then there's confusion, right? Or uncertainty. So, and doubting and things like that. So, but Neptune is there to really help us it is to show us really, trust in your dreams and move forward. Trust your intuition, but at the same time, and also Neptune has to do with our spirituality, right? Our spiritual growth and things like that. So that's what Neptune wants for us. Now, when we see Neptune with all these planets in Aries, we can say, we can think of it as, well, you can imagine a new future for yourself, but don't fall into the illusions. Don't fall into like the illusions in, where it's nothing is true. It's just fantasy, right? Escapism. That's what it is. So every planet is trying to show us something. It is. So let's talk now about Aries. And so Aries, this is going to be for your sun, moon, and rising. And Aries, this is Not necessarily in that order, right? I would say the your rising sign, your sun, and then your moon, all right? But they're all important. They are. So Aries, the whole intro is for you, right? And we have natal Mars is making a sextile with Pluto. So you can have an opportunity or there is assistance. A sextile is a favorable aspect and it is really assistance, but it requires you kind of stepping into something. It requires your cooperation. That's what a sextile does. You can think of it as sex, right? You can't have sex alone, right? At least, at least not that I know about, right? So we have your natal Mars making a sextile with Pluto. You could have an opportunity from the cosmos for transformation. Yeah. And this is also, something providing strength and also depth, right? Pluto brings the intensity and the depth and your ability to create something tremendous, Aries. Pluto is in your 11th house of the future. So this is all about new beginnings, right? Pluto in the house of the future. This is also the house of friends, right? And social groups, people, like-minded people. This is hopes and wishes, gains, usually from the 10th house of career, but gains. And, also the 11th house is about innovation, all right? So it does look great for you and enjoy your birthday season because where are we today? We're only at the Oh, today is April 3rd. Yeah, we have couple more weeks now before we get into Taurus season. But the Aries new moon is on the 17th. Is that what I put here? I believe, yeah, it's at least in the United States, it's here on the 17th. So for Taurus, everything I said in the intro is happening in your 12th house of ending, surrender, and release. So, hopefully you'll watch the intro, right? And I have timestamps and everything, but hopefully you'll be watching that because you'll have more of an understanding now when I'm doing yours, okay? And so and everything is happening in your 12th house of endings, surrender, and release. This is the 12th house where we imagine as well, where we trust, where we should, or where we are invited to trust our intuition, right? This is the house of really of Neptune, but yours happens to be in your 12th house in Aries, right? But so, the new moon is asking you to release something and create something new and to trust your intuition and what you are imagining for your future. And so we have Saturn is in your 12th house as well, giving structure and commitment to these dreams that you may want, right? That you may want to act on or that you may new endeavors. It may be bringing karmic lessons to you. Oh, yeah, for sure it can. And what are karmic lessons? They're kind of lessons that, that can tell us, well, you did that and you learned from it. That's one version of a karmic lesson, right? And you learn from it, and now you're better, right? From learning. So we have yeah, and so Saturn is the stern teacher, but we have the sun and the moon. They're conjoined and they're asking you not to be overly emotional and to believe in yourself. Now, Taurus is not typically overly emotional, but in a way they can be because Taurus rules the second house of not only finance but self-worth, right? And stability. So it's interesting. It kind of goes, there's different nuances to that. There is, and that's really kind of what astrology is about too, the nuance of the soul, the nuances of the soul. Okay, and so you could be overcoming an old wound because Chiron is there, or maybe even a way of being, maybe a way of doing something since it's in Aries, and Aries is about, doing things, right? Taking action. So maybe you're doing something in a new way and you're over it, right? You're kind of like, well, maybe, it can be where you were doing something and in some way, or there was something going on, but now you're more resilient. Yeah. And that's what Chiron brings us, resilience. It can. So, and so natal Venus is in your sign, and that is encouraging self-care, good food, and the good life, right? Um, and supporting your relationships and your finances as well. So Venus is trining the descendant, and so and this is supporting your balance and your harmony in your life, right? Fairness in your life, and also your relationships for sure. So let's talk about Gemini, and I hope you enjoyed that, Taurus. So for you, Gemini, the new moon is in your 11th house of the future and innovation. This is hopes and gains and wishes as well. This is also the house of friends and social groups or, like-minded people. Natal Mercury is part of this huge stellium, Gemini, excuse me, all aligning in Aries. So this, is encouraging new plans and goals, learning and intellectual pursuits. All right. Um, and also social events. So, yeah, the 11th house is a very social house. So maybe you are, really being social. I know I'm a Gemini rising, and I'm a little bit more social than I have been just recently. Yeah, I have to say that. So, yeah, and so Neptune or Mercury, rather, your natal Mercury is conjoined with Neptune. It is next to Neptune and next to Mars. So Neptune is supporting your visions, but yet still there may be a lack of clarity about something because Neptune, it wants us to trust our intuition and our imagination, but sometimes there is confusion with Neptune or uncertainty because the lines get blurred with imagination and intuition. It can. So this is the thing about Neptune, but Neptune is there really to support whatever you are, like whatever your 11th house is talking to you about, or kind of, yeah. And um, so Mercury will move away from Neptune though, and when it does, things will become more clear for you, Gemini, for sure. Chiron, the wounded healer, is conjoined with the new moon, and this is giving you resilience for sure. A resilience or a healing, maybe within a friendship or your perspective on friendships, maybe, or like-minded people. It doesn't always have to be a friend, right? Maybe you're just like, well, that's okay. Chiron in the 11th house can kind of maybe heal a friendship. It can. So, maybe you're looking at friendships with more compassion because we also have Neptune as part of the stellium, right? Stellium is a huge amount of planets together, really. But Neptune will always support compassion, regardless. Yeah, and so we have Neptune is at 3 degrees, and your Mercury is at 3 degrees, and Neptune is at 2 degrees. Yeah, so they're very close. The new moon can motivate you, Gemini, and there is so much support here with this huge stellium for you. All right, so thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed that. And now we're going to move on to Cancer. Cancer, the new moon is in your 10th house of career and social roles. I beg your pardon. So this is also your house of social status. And Cancer, this represents your authority and ambition and personal agency that you wield over your own life. The 10th house is also about how people see us, our reputation, and our social roles, as I was saying, our status. Um, yeah, and so the 10th house is where we want to achieve as well. So that's where this is happening for you, the new moon. And so we also have, yeah, the new moon is always something exciting or meaningful. I would say in the 10th house as well, because we need the 10th. The new moon is about our endeavor, taking action, really. And so new endeavors, right? So in the 10th house, that's a beautiful thing. So here we have, and so the new moon, and the new moon is the moon, excuse me, Cancer. The moon is your ruling luminary. It's not really a planet, but for sake of kind of explaining things, we'll call it a planet, right? So the moon is your ruling planet. So, it's important, the new moon, right? You may be becoming more resilient or more powerful regarding career or how you see yourself. It doesn't always have to be career. It could be how you see yourself, right? Which always means how you end up showing yourself to the world. So maybe you're seeing yourself more powerful or more resilient, right? Resilience is, you can't really be powerful if you're not resilient, right? That's kind of how it works. And so the moon is making a trine to the MC. The MC is the career, it is the 10th house again, right? And so relating to career and your personal agency again. And so this is supporting those themes, also including fatherhood, right? Or a father. And this is aligning with natural talents or things that come easy to you, Cancer. That's what a trine is. Things that come with little effort, right? This is sometimes why we take our talents. It is associated with our talents, trines, but this is why sometimes we take We take our talents for granted. Oh, I'm a great singer, but you never go anywhere and sing, or or you never sing by yourself, or things like that, right? Or I'm really good at this, but we can take things for granted. That is a trine, but it is very supportive. It is. So you have that trine going on, and so. Yeah, this is a lucky trine for you, Cancer. It sure is. And so we have Jupiter, the great benefic. Jupiter is providing blessings and abundance and opportunities, but Jupiter wants us to stretch. It really wants us to expand and grow. It does. So it is our higher purpose. That is what Jupiter is. And so Jupiter is still protecting you in your sign, Cancer. That's a really good thing until June 30th. And Jupiter is making a trine to Vesta in Pisces. So Vesta it is our devotion. Um, and so when we have the trine to, it can be, yeah, it is, when it makes a trine to, excuse me, when Jupiter makes that trine though, this is emphasizing your spiritual needs. And I just got off the phone with a Cancer who was telling me about their spiritual needs. I kid you not. Emphasizing spiritual needs, your spirituality, how that can support your growth and your higher calling. And that is Jupiter. So thank you so much for joining me here, Cancer, and I hope you've enjoyed that. So let's talk about Leo, though. And Leo, the new moon is in Aries, and you're likely to feel it with your natal sun also there, right? That's what the new moon it is, kind of teaming up or aligning with the sun, right? So yeah, and this isn't another fire sign for you, Leo. So it's really great. And so the new moon is in your ninth house of higher purpose, growth, and expansion. It's great there. It is because this is what we reach for, right? Our higher calling, our higher purpose is a better way to say it. Our higher purpose, and so this is also the house of teaching and long distance travel. Maybe you want to do something like that, um, and also publishing. Yeah. So the sun and the moon are conjoined with Chiron, the wounded healer, and that was going to provide strength, emotional balance for you, Leo. Emotional balance for growth. Yeah. And for you to act on any new endeavors of your higher purpose or anything that is very meaningful to you, right? Or anything that's helping you grow and you feel like you're expanding, which is always exciting, right? And so yeah, that is the ninth house. And so we have Mars is the ruler of the new moon. Mars also rules your fourth house of home and family, emotional needs, and where you live, like the physical home. So there's could be something also going on there, but that is supporting that. The new moon in Aries will support your fourth house. Yes, it will. And so yeah, and so the sun will trine your house of self-expression, creative pursuits, and romantic love, and fun and children. Yeah, we can say this is your house. This is Leo rules the fifth house of the sun. It is of the heart as well. And what we want to create that is, close to the heart, it's romantic love, it is children, it is self-expression and creative pursuits. So the sun is, like our sun sign, how we show ourselves kind of to the world or kind of have the sense of ourselves. So when we have the sun trining that house, it's really beautiful. It is. And so this is an easy or a flow. There's an ease to something here, and a flow. And this is supported regarding those themes, but it is something that is already existing for you, with the trine. That's why it is easy or flowing. Something that comes easy to you or something that you already have or something like that. But it does look beautiful for you, Leo. So thank you so much. And I'm going to move on to Virgo. If you like my content, please hit the like button. It's very helpful. Yeah. And so here we have Virgo. The new moon in Aries is encouraging you to take risks, Virgo, to venture out with courage and to believe in yourself. All right. The sun represents our sense of self, our identity, our self-expression, and it is conjoining or it is, aligning. It is together. The conjunction is the most important. It is aspect in astrology. And so the sun is your natal sun, right? Your natal sun is conjoined. I'm sorry, the sun is not your natal sun. That was Leo. Um, and your natal planet is Mercury. We'll talk about that. And so, but the sun is conjoined with the moon, as it does with every new moon, and it's giving us a chance to start over. And so the new moon is in your eighth house of transformation. So there's something definitely new for you, right, Virgo? And so this is also the house of intuitive ability, shared assets, joint finances, intimate relationships. It's a big house. It's a psychological house, and it is also the house of secrets and crises. Yes, so it's an interesting house there, right? This is the house of Scorpio in the natural chart. So natal Mercury is your natal Mercury, yeah, and so is conjoined with Mars and the ruler of the new moon. Mercury is making a sextile to Pluto. Pluto is again transformation, Virgo. So you can't get away from something that is profoundly changing for you. No, it doesn't seem like you can, right? Or regenerating. It can also be regeneration. Yeah. And so that's important to know, right? Because regeneration, we can rebuild, we can transform in a very positive way. So something may be regenerating for you as well. And something can be profoundly changing there. The south node of the past is in your sign as well. And so, you're still letting things go or purging things or maybe learning as well. The South Node does bring us lessons. It sure does. It's something we're supposed to move away from in order to move toward our true potential or kind of, happiness in our and becoming whole, right? It's what our soul really wants. So we can call this fate and destiny, the North Node. But we're moving away from the South Node to get to the North Node, right? And so, but that. Um, we have that here. The south node of the past is in your sign, and it is allowing you to purge those old beliefs about self-identity, about who you are, because it's in your first house, right? It's in your sign, and to move away from things, or you might have a new perspective, definitely, about things that no longer serve you, for sure. Mars is making a quincunx. It's asking you, Virgo, to make some type of adjustment, all right? So, and you may know what that is, right? So, thank you so much, Virgo, for watching. We're going to talk about Libra now. And the new moon is in your opposite sign in Aries, in your seventh house of partnerships, relating, right? Relating to others, balance and fairness. This is also the house of opponents and legal matters. It is. And so, Libra, you might have a new perspective on how you show up in relationships or how you relate to other people, right? Doesn't have to be a relationship. I mean, it could be, but it can be like just how you kind of maybe communicate with others. It can. And a relationship is not always like, you're married or that's your boyfriend, your girlfriend. Relationship can be, you can have a relationship with anybody. You can even have a relationship with kind of somebody you see at the yoga studio, right? Because even though it's not a serious relationship, right? So maybe you're doing something new there. Um, all right. And maybe you are also focusing on what needs balance and harmony in your life. You may be doing that. The stellium in Aries is supporting this house, indicating you're showing up stronger because we have Chiron there too, indicating that you could be showing up stronger and seeing what needs to be balanced and where you can create more harmony in your own life. Natal Venus is in its other's home sign, right? Because Venus is the ruler of you, Libra, and also Taurus, right? Although they are different, they are. And Venus there is in your house of transformation. This is the house of intuitive ability, also shared assets, right? Even bills we pay with with our spouse, or it can be about inheritance, bonuses, commissions, anything that is kind of shared monies, right? And so, yeah, Venus is there. And also, this is also the house of intimate relationships and crises and secrets. But Venus is helping you, Libra. Yeah, it's supporting that house. So I feel like, you're able to change something, right, with the transformation there. All right. Or you're able to see something, definitely. But Venus in its own home sign in your seventh house is definitely supporting you. All right. And Venus is the ruler of the seventh house, really, in the natural chart. So there we go, right? And so now we have Uranus is together with Venus. So Uranus is a planet of unexpected change, chaos, instability. Um, It is also about breakthroughs, right? Yeah, and Uranus wants change for us. It wants innovation. So it's also the house of spiritual breakthroughs, or the sign rather, or the planet rather. And so Uranus is together with your Venus, your natal Venus, encouraging you very directly to embrace some type of change, Libra. Something may seem unstable or chaotic. And it is so embracing that because Uranus, Uranus will move into Gemini, and it is at the very, it is at the very end uh, of Taurus. So it's always asking when a planet is at the end of a sign, it's asking us, look, do something here, do something that is, it encourages us to do something, complete something. So now we have, and so Venus, also represents love and beauty and finance and self-worth, right? And that is more for Taurus, but that's where Venus sits. So, this is maybe there are themes here about finance and self-worth here with Aries. Aries wants us to rise up, right? Aries wants us to have the courage to change or do something, right? But just to step out and get it done. So we have Uranus is encouraging you to act with independence, yes, and to embrace change. And you might be experiencing some breakthroughs, as I said, especially as these breakthroughs will relate to an understanding of something, right? Of course. All right. So thank you, Libra. And let's talk about Scorpio now. Scorpio, you're likely to feel the new moon in Aries because Mars is the ruler of Aries, of Aries and your sign. So the energy is directed to something very personal in Aries. It is because Aries is the house of the sign of the self, or these and or these six house themes of health, work, and daily affairs, right? So the sixth house is the very, excuse me, Scorpio. The sixth house is the house of practical matters, all the things that we have to deal with in our life, work, health, and daily affairs, practical affairs, our responsibilities, our obligations, and our routines. So that's what that is about, the sixth house. So there's something most likely going on there for you, right? Um, and Mars is making a sextile to your natal Pluto. Okay, Pluto is your modern ruler. Mars is your traditional ruler. And we used, many of us, I use the traditional meanings because the planets, because the newer, the more tradition, more modern planets, they're more for the collective, right? Yeah. And so, but we still have some resonance here. We really do, because Mars is making a sextile to natal Pluto in your house of home and family, emotional needs, and the physical home. So the sextile means that you kind of have to engage. It does. It's kind of a social, it can be an opportunity, but we have to be kind of socially willing, sort of, right? In order for that. In other words, if you have an opportunity, you have to act on it. You have to take it, right? So that's what a sextile is. So there is something new for you there, but Mars is making a sextile to natal Pluto, probably encouraging transformation or an ending of sorts or some type of regeneration. But we have Mars making that sextile. Um, and this can be about your physical home. Some of you may want to move, but you could be, I feel like you are likely becoming stronger emotionally, right? Pluto is also about power. Yes, it is. So, and that is very true to Scorpio as well. Scorpio is about power. That is true. So, yeah, or your perspective on home and family or your emotional needs, they could be changing. The new moon is trining your second house of finance. And so the trine is very supportive for you, Scorpio, making things easier, bringing like higher self-worth could be a flow of energy, and it can be your philosophy, right? Maybe you have a different philosophy, perhaps, or a different perspective on growth or, or expansion or your higher purpose. Yeah, could be. So thanks so much for watching. So let's talk about Sagittarius now. And Sagittarius, the new moon in Aries is in your house of self-identity and self-expression. All right, so this is, for you, it's in another fire sign, so this is very good as well. And so, but this house that where the new moon is in with the sun rules this house for you. The sun rules your fifth house, right? And so, the new moon and the sun are together basically. And so this is in the house of where you shine, your talents, your creative pursuits, even romantic love and fun. So maybe you're having a lot of fun, right, during Aries season, right, during the new moon, because the new moon comes at the end of Aries season. Yeah. And so I feel like the cosmos really want us to understand what Aries is about when we have the new moon at the end, right? And what it's about personally for us in our charts. So, yeah, and so planting seeds, you could be planting seeds about what you want to create, maybe in a relationship, maybe about love, or, or things that are really important to your heart, right? Things that are close to kind of home here, because the fifth house is the house of the heart. It can be about children too, the fifth house. And so, yeah, and so we have natal Jupiter, Sagittarius, is in Cancer. It is in your eighth house supporting you, but this is your eighth house of transformation and shared wealth. So it's possible here that, with that's a great, actually, Jupiter wants to change something for you. This is a very powerful house, the eighth house, especially about shared wealth, and inheritance and joint finances and things like that. That is what that house is. It's also about intimate relationships and your intuitive ability. So you're likely trusting your intuition. And so that's a really good thing, right? And Jupiter is trining Vesta. And Vesta is about, Vesta can be, Vesta's in Pisces. So this can be about your spiritual needs. It can. But it is trining your fourth house of home and family and emotional needs, and also where you live, right? This can be like your home, but it is supporting that. And with the trine to Vesta, it is supporting your dedication on regarding your focus and your expansion, right? Jupiter wants you to expand, and Vesta wants us to devote to something, devote ourselves to something. Yes. Okay, so now Jupiter is in your house of power and regeneration. I said that, right? Because Jupiter's in your eighth house. There's something that may need adjustment, though. There could be, we have a quincunx, or maybe that you need to adapt to, but there is a quincunx there. It is a minor aspect, but sometimes these minor kind of, things can really like go off like a little light bulb one day, right? So we have Jupiter is in a conquest to Lilith. Lilith is your shadow or your ego. And so in the house of yourself. Interesting, because Lilith is in Sagittarius right now. So your own Jupiter is making that quincunx, telling you to kind of face something about your shadow. Yeah, face something about, your shadow is kind of, it's a few things, but it's usually your ego, and it usually kind of holds us back, right? The shadow. So yeah, but yeah, there's a little adjustment that may need to be made. All right, let's see what else I have for you. But overall, Sagittarius, this is great. And I'm a Sag, so yeah, no digs, right? Of course, right? That's what astrology wants us all to grow. Yes, it does. And to reach our highest potential. That's what the North Node is about. And that's what the natal chart is about. So when we learn this and we really learn about our chart, we heal as well, right? Or we overcome. So Capricorn, the new moon is in your house of home and family and emotional needs and the physical home. All right. So Mars, the ruler of the new moon, also rules your 11th house of innovation and the future, friends and like-minded groups. This is also your house of hopes and wishes for the future and gains. And there can be something important in this house as well. So natal Saturn is conjoined with Mars, and Mercury, the planet of thinking and communication, is there as well. And for some of you, there can be tension or arguments, maybe with Mars and Mercury, with family, right? It's in your fourth house, could be, or maybe people who are kind of a little aggressive or something like that. I mean, that can be, it doesn't have to be for every Capricorn, of course, but so watch out for that, right? But this could be a time of of a better understanding with family members as well, with Mercury there. Could be, Mercury wants us to be smart, basically. It is the planet of, it's the planet of the intellect, it is. And so, there could be a time, this can be a time also, where you are understanding family members better or your own emotional needs, Capricorn. You could be renovating or paying attention to affairs in the home. Some may want to move house. Of course, not all Caps will. The new moon can give you the courage to create something new, and you're stronger emotionally, Capricorn, because Chiron is conjoined. Chiron is about our health, and it is about our health as such, our physical health, but the health of anything, the health of our finances, the health of our communication with others, right? And so the sun and the moon. Um, and Chiron, they all want us to, they want you to heal basically and foster resilience. That's what Chiron can be bringing to you. All right. So thank you, Capricorn. We're going to move on to Aquarius. Aquarius, the new moon is in your third house of thinking. This is the house of decisions and plans and goals, and it is. And so this is also where we process all our information. It also rules communication and documents, right? But communication is really important. It also rules our willpower. Yeah, it does. The third house, right? So this is the cerebral mental house, as I have been saying, right? You could be, you might have new ideas, Aquarius. You definitely could. The new moon can help you step into those as well. All right. So, and Saturn is your natal ruler. And so Saturn is also part of this huge planetary alignment, right? We have seven different luminaries in Aries at the time. So Saturn is part of this, and Saturn is conjoined with Mars, the ruler of the new moon. Mars is the will to act, right? I always encourage everybody to watch the intro, but Mars is the will to act. So with Saturn there conjoining Mars, um, you could definitely be feeling the will to act, but the ruler of the new moon, um, excuse me, with Mars, but you're determined. And so you're determined because of your own natal planet, Saturn, right? And interesting with Saturn, if we are not if we are not kind of disciplined or serious about something, it can also bring restrictions, right? Restrictions that may, kind of slow us because in Mars season or in Aries season, we are trying to do something new, right? So and so there can be that, right? But Capricorn in a beautiful way, or Saturn rather, in a beautiful way, will support your discipline, your long-term goals, your long-term vision, your maturity. It definitely will, and your commitment and seriousness. So that's really a good thing, Aquarius, right? Mhm. And so we also have your natal Saturn. It's making a sextile to Pluto. Pluto is power and transformation. It can be crises as well, but but for the most part, this sextile is something good. It's something, the sextile is an opportunity, but only if we take it or only if we step into it. The sextile is asking us to kind of engage socially, if you will. So we have Saturn making that sextile to Pluto in your sign, encouraging you to change, encouraging you to transform something for sure. Especially as it relates to Saturn is in your third house of ideas or communication. It's not or, it is, but the third house of the mind, as I was saying, it could be encouraging, like leave something out or transform, right, for new ideas, because that's what Aries is about, right? Yeah, it is about that. So there's power and there's endurance for you, Aquarius, to create something of value. That's what Saturn wants, something of value. For sure it does. And also lasting. hmm And Mars, yeah, with that sextile to Pluto, also with Mars, right? So thank you so much, Aquarius, for watching. And we're going to move on to Pisces. And Pisces, this is for your sun, moon, and rising. And I hope you watched the intro because it's important. It really is. It explains a lot before we go directly to your sign. Okay. So the new moon is in your second house of finance, possessions, and self-worth. And we have a huge stellium here supporting this area of your life. I would say that's a really good thing, right? So this can support your money, how you feel about yourself. And so Mars also rules your ninth house of purpose, of higher purpose and growth and expansion. This is also the house that is very meaningful. So something could be very meaningful to you. Maybe you're reaching for it, right? And maybe you're growing because something is very meaningful to you. That is the ninth house. It's also the house of travel, long distance travel. It's really interesting. I know a Piscean who just took a trip. Yeah, and so Yeah, and it wasn't very local. So, the ninth house is long distance travel. So, yeah. And so maybe you are traveling, right? And Jupiter, your natal Jupiter, which is in Cancer right now, but it's making a trine. It's in your fifth house of self-expression, creative pursuits, and fun, right? So Jupiter is there, but it's making a trine to Vesta in your sign. So there can be situations that you are drawn to that are going to require focus and dedication because that's what Vesta wants for us, okay? But this can bring expansion and growth, Pisces, and right? This is like a very kind of optimistic trine, right? And so that trine, a trine is always supporting you. It is because the planets are in the same element. And not only that, a trine refers to something that we kind of already have inside. That's why we take it for granted sometimes, but it's kind of talents or innate qualities that we have that are already, within us, right? They're already a part of us. So be careful not to take anything for granted, Pisces, right? And so it's a beautiful trine. It is very optimistic with Jupiter there, right? And Mars is together with Saturn. Mars is the ruler of the new moon, right? And so Mars is there with Saturn creating structure and form to whatever you're doing, whatever this new endeavor or whatever you're planting seeds with. This is Mars is there, and Saturn is there to help create the structure and the form, the seriousness to it, right? Yeah, and also, and Mars is there to help you with drive and courage, of course. Natal Neptune is also in Aries. I don't want to leave that out. This is your modern ruler, though. And I use the traditional more because they are more kind of hitting home. They really are. But Neptune it does support you. Neptune is your modern day ruler. And so we have Neptune in Aries with Mercury and Mars, encouraging you to imagine a new future for yourself, Pisces. You're good at that. You really are. You guys are imaginative, intuitive, and step into a new future. That's what Mars wants, yeah, for us in Aries, the new moon in Aries, and to trust and believe. All right, so I hope you've enjoyed my video today. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. It's really helping me to get to the 1,000 subs, and also hit the little bell to be notified of my next upload. If you would like a reading with me, I am a consulting astrologer. I have all kinds of readings on my website. I do tarot. I'm a past life reader, and also I do psychic work. Yeah, and so I'm a Silva person. If you know about Silva, yeah. So thanks so much for joining me here.